And we're back with another episode about the Harvest Right Freeze Dryer. Today we're going to be looking at doing some apples, some heavy cream, and possibly some tuna noodle casserole. Now I realize that some of these things might not be appealing to you, but please let us know what you would like to see us freeze dry. The apples we did last time were amazing, but funny enough, the apples in their regular form, my favorite, were not really my favorite when we freeze dried them. They were still good, but just not quite the same. And the one that I didn't like eating raw, I loved once we freeze dried, and we pretty much obliterated all of the ones that we did, except the ones that we put in the pouch. Now, the milk for the heavy cream, we have seen lots of people do this themselves and have had great outcomes. Basically, everything becomes a nice powdered form, so almost like getting powdered milk or like a powdered creamer that you would buy at the store for your coffee, say if you are stopping off at a gas station or in maybe your office buildings. But this is something that I think would be very helpful for us. My husband and I very much enjoy a nice hot cup of coffee, and when you're traveling, anything that you can leave behind, so coolers or anything that you need to keep cold, would be extremely helpful to find a different way to handle that. And freeze drying milk, or cream in this case, is a huge benefit. You can package it in as small amounts that you want and then mix in water to get it back to its original state. We're pretty excited about trying this, and I think it'll be good. We're waiting to see about the tuna noodle casserole, if we're going to make that tonight and then add it into the freeze dryer with the cycle that we run. All of this stuff will be pre-frozen again. I haven't quite jumped into the just sticking straight things in there. The pre-freezing is something that just helps cut a little bit of time for the unit, and eventually we'll get there just to kind of see a comparison. But to get a good baseline of how long something takes, we're just doing the pre-freeze for now, and heck, our freezer is always on upstairs, so might as well do it. But we're going to go ahead and get everything prepped, so our apples sliced. And I did find last time looking that if I would not have done it, our apples just would have turned brown. So if you're following along and trying anything yourself, I would definitely recommend adding some lemon juice to some water, and as you are cutting those apples, put them in that water until you're ready to place them on a tray in a freezer. It definitely helps them keep from turning brown, and lemon juice probably helped accentuate the good apple flavor anyways, so it was a good addition. But follow along in the video to see how this adventure cycle goes of freeze drying more food. So we're back the next day and are ready to start up a whole new cycle. A couple things that you want to check is to verify that your oil pump and everything is going well. So we'll go down here below and everything looks clear. We're at the halfway mark. You can see the level across there. And since we're good to go there, we'll go ahead and make sure our door is shut and press start. We have about 15 minutes for this to cool down, and we'll be right back. Okay, so the freeze dryer is ready to go, and as the reminder goes, it's telling you to load into the freeze dryer and close the drain valve. Do not mix frozen with non-frozen food. We always at this point have been pre-freezing everything, and we decided to go with a tray of bananas and an extra tray of apples, and did not go with a meal item yet. So this front tray here, we have the frozen cream, heavy cream, and then 2 different types of apples, and then just sliced organic bananas. Make sure to shut that valve. We have all 4 trays of our different pre-frozen foods in there. Again, heavy cream, apples, and then bananas. As a verification, there's no harm in double checking anything. We have our freeze dryer loaded. We have the drain valve closed and everything was pre-frozen. So we'll hit continue. And so it begins. And we will catch up with you when we are at the next stage. Well, it's the next day and our food is done. It went a little faster than what I thought it would, and that's okay. It has a process in it that just keeps it cool, and we are currently at negative 42 degrees Fahrenheit, so nice and chilly. Since we have a couple different items in there, some of which we will physically use immediately, I have some sanitized mason jars, and we might do some stuff in one of the pouches as well. I do have a glove down here and a large 2-gallon Ziploc bag to put that heavy cream in, and once it's in there we will crush it to make it into a powder form to store it in one of these jars with an oxygen absorber for now. And eventually we might see about using our vacuum sealer to can it with an oxygen absorber in it so that we can get in and out of it as needed and kind of go from there. But yeah, let's get into the freeze dryer and see what we got going on. All right, a closer look at the freeze dryer screen as it tells you the process is complete, and it reminds you to open the drain valve to vent, and we need to do that first before we open the door because you want to release the pressure. So we'll go ahead and do that now. So we have our hose going down into our bucket. And then what we'll do is turn this valve to release the pressure. And you can kind of hear that in there. And we'll go ahead and open it up. And as a refresher, we have our heavy cream, our apples, and then bananas. So we'll go ahead and get these out. We're going to go ahead and just kind of test this heavy cream first to make sure that it is dry enough before I cancel the screen out on the freeze dryer to make sure it doesn't need more dry time. Although looking at it, there are lots of cracks and it's shrunk quite significantly. You do want to make sure because there's a high amount of fat. And here we have our heavy cream. I've got my glove on just to make sure we're keeping things tidy. Not super easy to get out, which could mean that it needs more time. Or it could be fine. So after feeling this a little bit and its texture, I am going to put this back in to dry a little bit more. I'd rather be safe than sorry, and since we've never gotten to do this process before, we can film that and show how that goes. So we'll get this back in right now. So I am going to go ahead and add some more dry time, like I said on here. And since I've not done this before, I am going to assume if I click more dry time, it's going to remind me about closing the drain valve. But let's find out what happens together. Okay, it reminds you to close the drain valve, so we'll do that now. Our drain valve is closed now. And now we'll hit continue. You can hear it kind of probably sucking everything back down to get all that other moisture out of there. Kind of see the moisture build up in there to cool it back down pretty quickly. We'll come back to this in a little bit, and while we're down here, we'll continue to package up our other stuff. So we've got our 3 jars of freeze-dried fruit now, and before you ask, we did not put oxygen absorbers in these, mostly because we're going to eat them. This is food that'll probably just sit on the counter and be our go-to food for a little snack time, especially for our son. And of course, while we're waiting for the heavy cream to continue drying, just to see if it can get a little bit better consistency, it is in the drying phase at about an hour and 43 minutes left. I can adjust that with arrows as it has on the screen, but we'll start with that and see where we go. It was pretty interesting because I've not been by the freeze dryer when it's in the drying process, and you could definitely hear the oil pump, the vacuum pump, kind of in its process of, you know, bringing the oil through and doing what it's supposed to. So that was pretty cool. I hope that you like watching these videos and learning about the things that come along with having a freeze dryer, and we do enjoy sharing this process with you and love to hear any feedback, or if you have a Harvest Right freeze dryer, then let us know what you're trying so we can challenge ourselves a little bit more. And we haven't named our system yet, so if you have any suggestions, let us know. But I will go ahead and leave our other things down here in hopes of getting to do that, and we'll check back in on that in a little bit. Alright, the process is done for a second round of dry time, so we're going to get this heavy cream out, take a look at it, and hope for the best at this point. And maybe give it a test here in a few days to, of course, confirm before we start diving in and eating all of it when we're out and about doing stuff for our coffee. This time coming out, as you just saw, it definitely has a little bit more looseness to it. It's very creamy feeling still. Since I don't have a lot of experience with doing any dairy yet, I have no idea if this is in a state that's okay. I'm gonna say, based on how easy it's crumbling, we probably won't require our rolling pin or the bag, and I'll just be able to crumble it right into our mason jar here to keep, and then throw an oxygen absorber in it. So we'll get to doing this and go from there. I went ahead and got 2 smaller containers instead of just one big one, just to give it a little less in each one so we can keep an eye on it. I am sure that there is a better way to do this, but this is what we're doing. It probably would have been helpful to bring a scale down just to get them somewhat even. Yeah, I can see a lot of residue on this tray, so this might be one of our hit or misses about our freeze drying adventure. So we'll put an oxygen absorber in each of these. And we'll wipe off the tops of these before I put the gaskets on. I'm gonna use some vinegar to wipe the tops, the rims of these jars off, just to make sure to get some of that fat off. So since we only used 2 oxygen absorbers from our package here, we want to reseal this, and I have plugged in our impulse sealer that came with the freeze dryer, and we're going to make sure that we get that plugged back up. And there we have a new seal, so hopefully it's good to go. Well, I've gone ahead and shut off the freeze dryer because we're done for this round and cycle of freeze drying more food, and the drain valve is open to let the water release into the bucket behind there as it defrosts. I'm not entirely sure how our freeze-dried heavy cream will go. As you can see in here, it's not as powdered as I would have thought, but once again, this is all about trying things and finding out the outcome, and I guess we'll find out if that spoils and has mold in it here soon or not. I'm hoping soon that we'll be trying out the original food that we did freeze dry, the spaghetti and the shrimp chow mein, to see how it turned out. But in the meantime, we do look forward to trying other food items, and like I said, if you have any suggestions for us, please let us know, and we will be more than willing to give anything a shot. We appreciate you checking out this video again, and if you feel so inclined, subscribe to our channel for other fun family content, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks for watching.